June 12th, 2020. Had to be reminded by the journal. Audiobooks are an amazing way to grow your brain. I've been using audiobooks probably for the past 6 months. Not completely all the time, but I've certainly been. I've read like I read an audiobook. I got a free Audible book on in January called Stillness is the Key. Audible gives you a free book, so I downloaded that one. It was recommended to me, and it helped grow my brain. I get my perspective a lot. That book was a great book, and I think books in general are an amazing learning tool. Nonfiction books, fiction books obviously serve a different purpose. My preferred method of consuming literature is through the audio format. Because of that revolution in reading, the audiobook format, I feel like I'm able to learn and consume that knowledge in one, a more enjoyable format for myself, and two, a much more rapid pace that's more up to speed with how I want to consume. So I've always been into podcasts because podcasts are awesome, and I like the audio. I like listening to audio while I do other things, and I can always now I can substitute that with an audio book. So I'm a person that always likes to learn, and I feel like those two ways are some of the best ways that you can learn, podcast or audiobook. But today we're talking about audiobooks. So the books that I've listened to recently are Stillness is the Key, Ego is the Enemy, Perennial Seller. All three of those are by Ryan Holiday, who right now is my favorite author. And I'm currently listening to, what's it called? White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, which is a great read. Or I guess you would say listen, right? Since I'm not actually reading. Now, here's why you should consume audiobooks. Reading from pages can be boring and hard to do if you're on the go and trying to get stuff done all the time, such as, trying to build a business, trying to literally anything. It's hard to sit down and read a book because if you're reading from pages, you can't really do anything else at the same time. That's why the revolution of audiobooks is so awesome. Now, you could probably argue that maybe you don't consume the same amount of info when you're hearing it versus when you're looking at it and digesting it that way. I would assume that's different based on person to person. For me, when I'm reading, a lot of times what happens is I'll just like be reading for like 2 pages, and I don't actually like digest the information. Like I just like look at it, but I don't actually read it, if that makes sense. So I'll have to go back 2 pages, and then I just wasted 4 to 5 minutes reading something that I didn't actually consume, and now I have to go back and read it again. That happens very, very few and far between with audiobooks for me. So I seem to consume the information a lot more efficiently than I do when I'm looking at pages. I listen to books literally all the time, whether I'm editing, doing an easy edit for a video, or I'm walking the dog, or I'm going on a jog, or I'm cleaning the kitchen, or making a friendship bracelet with my girlfriend. Literally, like, you can literally consume them anytime, and I find myself wanting to consume them all the time, as if it's like entertainment, because I'm a person who's always trying to grow. Thus why I started the show Growth Talk. And reading these fiction books, especially these books that are geared towards helping the individual that's reading it, is a super great way to grow for me. So, of course, I'm all about that. Like I said, I'm able to enjoy them at a fast pace. So, I probably read like 2 or 3 per month. And it's like constantly downloading info. It's amazing. Every time I do listen to an audiobook, it's like I level up. So I've listed 4 books that I've read / I'm currently enjoying, and each one is like a level up for my mind, my personality, my approach to life. Ego is the Enemy is a book that attacks ego. It's about how ego is the enemy of success, and gives all these stories about these really successful people who tarnish their legacy when they become successful because their ego takes over, because they think they're the shit. Stillness is the key is all about finding stillness, being able to calm yourself amidst chaos, being able to basically just know how to be calm and stay calm. And that was an amazing mind-opening read. Like I said, I read that one back in December. Yesterday I mentioned having anxiety. Well, Stillness is the Key gave me a bunch of different tools to learn how to deal with anxiety and essentially find calmness amongst chaos. He told all these different stories about these leaders in really hard positions that, because of their routines, because of the way they found stillness, they were able to just maneuver these horribly difficult, stressful situations. So that helped my mind level up. Ego is the enemy was a level up. It was a huge perspective shift for me about ego. Perennial Seller is a book about how to make classic work. So I'm currently trying to put that into play, that book right now. And then White Fragility, I'm going to actually do a book review on this one, but it's basically about how fragile white people are when it comes to the topic of racism. And obviously I'm reading that because I want to learn about how I can, be a better ally. So obviously that's a great read. And then, yeah, it's just it's like leveling up every time. So the prescription I have is, we'll actually talk about that later, but basically I get 3 per month. So basically I think about 36 level ups every year. You're going to learn at a super rapid pace. And it's kind of like how I'm going to school. It's like I'm reading these books that these authors give their life stories, which are like 15 years of experience often. So like every time you read a book, it's like getting 15 years of mentorship or 15 years of expertise put into this small package for you to consume. One more tidbit before I go. If you have the ability to read, but you choose not to read, you are functionally illiterate. So let me break that down a little. If you know how to read and you don't read, you're as good as knowing not how to read, if that makes sense. You might as well not know how to read if you don't read. So when I heard that was actually a quote that I heard from the author Ryan Holiday. But yeah, don't waste the opportunity to read. Keep leveling up, figure out the best audiobook platform for yourself. I got to go take care of my dog. Thank you guys for listening. Like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Leave a rating if you're on an Apple Podcast. Subscribe if you're on Spotify. I'll see you guys in the next one.